Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, please consider going down below the video and subscribing as we are working our way towards 30,000 subscribers. Now this is a topic I've been getting a ton of questions on, and this is a video that I wanted to make, but I wanted to wait until I had a little bit more information, and I think now that we've kind of got a good baseline of information, so we're just going to go over this NeoGeo MVSX arcade cabinet that is supposed to be coming as early as November 2020. And I will mention that this does retail for $500, and we do know this is going to be an Amazon exclusive in terms of our pre-orders. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit to kind of go through their pricing structure, but I do kind of want to go through this and talk about a few different things. Now, obviously what we can see here is a render with obviously the footage here superimposed over top of it. This is not the actual device. Now, we have seen some images of the actual device, and I will pull that up in just a little bit, but we're going to go through the website first and kind of see how things look. So as I said, this is going to be a NeoGeo Cab. It's like their big red cabs, and this is going to be officially licensed by SNK. So that's actually really cool. I know that there was some questions about whether or not that is the case, but it certainly is. This is going to be an officially licensed product. And in terms of what you can get, you can see here in the picture, it is just a bar top here, but there is the ability to purchase a base, and I will show that to you guys later on. Now, this is actually built by a company called Unico, and in terms of the marketing behind it, I mean, Unico, I would imagine they've been around for a little while, but this device is actually going to be made by the same folks that made the NeoGeo Fight Stick and the Mini, so they do have some experience working with SNK and with NeoGeo, so I think that what we're going to end up with is a fairly good product. Out of the gate, when we take a peek at it, we can see that it actually looks fairly good, but there's a few things that kind of stand out. I know that this has been touched on quite a few times. There's been lots of videos coming out about this, so we're going to go ahead and do a deeper dive. So we're going to go ahead and scroll on down, and we're going to take a peek at some of these renders. So pulling up this shot right over here, we can see this is a front-on look, and it does look pretty good. So we've got the nice, clean black bezel. I'm not sure if that's going to stay or if that's just a placeholder. In the live demo product image that we've seen, it is also going to be black there. So I'm not 100% sure if that's something that they're going to continue with. But honestly, the cabinet does look quite sharp. I do like the design that they're going with. The marquee does appear to be lit, and again, we can see that in the actual photo when I pull that up. But generally speaking, I mean, it looks fairly clean, really good. Now, one thing I want to talk about down here is we do have two speakers. So this will be a stereo speaker system. The problem is that the location of these speakers seems a little bit off. I mean, they've got these kind of pointed towards the user, which is fine, but they're going to be right underneath of the first player control and the second player control. And I'm just thinking, if you have your arms there, that's going to probably cause some issues in terms of how the sound's going to come out and hit you. So I'm curious to know as to why they decided to put the speakers down in this area. I would have loved to see them if they had put them up top here. I think it would just sound better, and it'd also be hidden, so I think it would have looked better too. This right over here, we've got like a faux mini coin door. So we've gotten some information specifically about this, and it does appear that this is going to be just a sticker or some sort of vinyl, and it's just for show really. It doesn't actually have any functional purpose. Moving on over to the next render, this is going to give you a little bit of a side view. And again, this is just a 3D render, so keep that in mind. Things may change a little bit, and even with the product that we've got in terms of the pre-production unit, there's a chance that things may change as well. But over here, we can see we've got the Unico branding, we've got the MVSX, we've got SNK, we've got NeoGeo, we've got the marquee here, and I think this is supposed to represent that 4-cartridge style marquee, and I actually like it quite a bit. I think they've done a good job generally in terms of the overall aesthetics. This is just going to be more of our side view here, and I'm going to pull up the second one as well, just so you can see. We're going to get mirror images on both sides. That's totally fine. That's very reminiscent of what we would have seen from a NeoGeo Cab. And I mean, I should mention, NeoGeo Cabs were not something that were very present where I live here in Canada. We didn't see them very often. I think I've maybe seen one in my life, and it was very much similar to what we're seeing here in terms of design. So I think they've done a fairly good job with my limited experience with them. I started getting into NeoGeo much later on in life with emulation, so I am a big fan of some of these games, and I'm very curious to see how well these things are going to emulate. Now we're going to jump into the control panel here, and I want to talk about this because some things have changed a little bit here. It does appear that there's going to be some sort of maybe small LED markers or screens here that are going to indicate how many maybe coins you have in there. I'm not 100% sure what these are going to be here, but you can see we do have the style of the NeoGeo cabinet in terms of its visual look, but we actually have 6 buttons here. This has been talked about a lot. We don't really know why we have these 2 extra white buttons. There's speculation as to whether or not it's going to be as a precursor to allow people to mod things in the future. Maybe there's going to be some downloadable content that might not necessarily be NeoGeo related, or perhaps this is just here to help users configure buttons if they prefer a different style or they want to change up the way the buttons are configured. Maybe that's what it's going to be. I really don't know. I'm curious to see what's going to happen here, but it's definitely interesting to see a 6-button layout on a NeoGeo Cab. And then of course we have our left player start. We've got an options or back button. We've got a select game button, and then we have our right player start. This over here, I don't know what it is. In the demo product that they sent out a photo, or that they leaked a photo of, this isn't here. It's actually, it looks like a black volume dial. So I'm going to try to show you guys that. The image I have isn't very high res, so you can't really see it, but I can tell you it's certainly not a white button over on that side. So I'm curious to see what that ends up being. But I think overall, I mean, the control deck's pretty nice, and I definitely think they've done it justice. And then jumping over to our marquee over here, you can see that it does have the 4 different game images, and these are going to be representative of the different collections that are going to be on here. So we've got the King of Fighters, the Metal Slugs. So it looks really good, and as I said, it does kind of remind me of the 4 cartridge style marquee that they would have had on these big red cabinets, and I do like that. And I think this is going to be a lit marquee, which I'm a huge fan of. And anyone who's seen my videos on the Arcade 1-Ups knows that that is a feature that I'm absolutely a huge fan of. So we're going to go ahead and move back. And now we're going to take a peek at the full picture here. So this is going to have the bar top up top, which we saw at the top of the website. But this also has the base. And the base is more or less just a plain red base in terms of the sides, probably the back as well. But the front here is actually what I'm interested in. So we can see this is just your plain white front with the left player, right player emblems kind of put on there or painted on there. But then we have this fake coin door system that's supposed to be here. And for the longest time, many people thought it was just, you know, a vinyl sticker or some sort of overlay that they placed. But we recently got some information that that's not the case. This is actually going to be like a raised plastic feeling type of feature, and I don't know that I particularly love that. I actually think I may have preferred it to be just some sort of a sticker, so that way if somebody wanted to mod it and put a real coin door in there, they could have just cut it out. I don't know how much a plastic insert or some sort of raised plastic piece is going to negatively impact the ability to mod it in that way. I'm kind of curious. I mean, if it's a high quality plastic and they've done a good job with it, then maybe it'll look okay and maybe people won't want to mod it. But I know that there's definitely going to be some people in the community that are going to want to throw a real coin door in this thing. So, and then we've got our back over here, and this is just a plain black backing, which is totally fine. We don't need anything special back there. But I do notice there are 3 different jacks here, and my gut reaction is maybe one of them is some sort of a master switch or a power switch, and then obviously you're going to have your power cord jacks over here. But I'm wondering if maybe there is an Ethernet port over back here or something along those lines. Maybe we are going to be able to get this connected to the internet in some way. I'm not 100% sure. If you guys know or have heard or maybe have some speculations, let me know in the comment section down below what you think's going on here. I haven't heard too many people talk about this, but it wouldn't surprise me at a $500 price point if this thing was going to be connected to the internet and you're going to be able to do either online gaming, maybe not even online gaming, but maybe connected into some sort of an app store where you can purchase additional titles. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they went with, so I'm curious to see exactly how this unrolls. And then we're going to go down into the big section here where we are talking about the titles that are included. Now, they are including 50 NeoGeo titles, and it's really good. I'm very, very pleased with what titles are there. I mean, we went a little heavy on the King of Fighters. That being said, if you're a King of Fighters fan, or in general, if you're a fighting game fan, this is actually a really good cabinet. And we've got other things in here like Metal Slug and Sengoku, which is really cool that they've included. And there's even some sports titles. So this isn't just a fighting cab, do not get me wrong, but it is actually a very well put together list of games. Now, there are obviously some games that they could have included that SNK owns the license to that a lot of people are big fans of, but honestly, I don't really think that there's too much to complain here. We're going to have a ton of different collections here. So we've got the King of Fighters collection. That's going to give us 10 different King of Fighters games. We've got the Metal Slug collection. So we've got 6 different titles there. The Samurai Showdown collection. Again, that's another 6 titles. Fatal Fury. We've got 8 titles here. We've also got World Heroes and Art of Fighting collection. And that's going to be another 6 titles. And then we've also got some classics. And those are going to be things like Sengoku or Magician's Lord, The Last Blade. Those titles are all really good games, so it's certainly nice to see them. And then the big thing I actually think is really cool here is that we get 5 sports titles. And I do want to say that I think sports titles in general are a market that hasn't really been capitalized very well in terms of these 3/4 scale cabinets. Now, obviously, we've got the NBA Jam cabinet. That's the big elephant in the room, and that's a fantastic cabinet by Arcade1Up. But it is nice to see that some competitors are also starting to put some other sports titles out that are actually fairly good quality games, and definitely I'm glad to see that they're on here. Now we're going to go down into the features section, and again, we're just going to more or less go over some of these things. We've got 50 games. Obviously, we just talked about those, so we'll skip over that. The screen is going to be a 17-inch display, which I think is pretty par for the course. I would have loved to see this as a 19-inch, but I mean, you take what you can get. 17 inches is more than sufficient for playing any of these sort of games, especially when you're going to be playing them on a 3/4 scale machine. Now, they talk about the size, and panel fits perfectly for 2 players. If you own an Arcade1Up, you know exactly what this is going to be like. It's like standing in front of your Mortal Kombat cabinet or your Street Fighter cabinet or pretty much any of your cabinets aside from the 4-player cabinets. So it is okay to play with 2 different players. It's certainly playable. There's no problems. It could be a little bit tight, but we're dealing with a 3/4 scale arcade cabinet. You can't expect to have all the space in the world in order to play these games on this type of machine. I think that it's more than playable, and in terms of its dimensions, it should be fine. So another feature that they've got here is that they've got both the MVS and AES modes supported in the MVSX. And this is going to be nice because you can go through the settings and you can change it to either AES or MVS mode. And that's really going to allow you to play either the arcade version or the home version of each game. Now, honestly, you're buying this thing because you want to play it like an arcade. So I know myself, I'm probably never going to enter AES mode. It's probably always going to be in MVS mode, but there are some titles, or maybe if you're one of those people that just doesn't want to have to keep entering coins in your games, then maybe you're going to set it to AES mode. But honestly, more options are better than fewer, and I appreciate the sentiment behind it and why they've done it. Now, they are also talking about having some sort of scanline support. This is a feature that I'm not really that excited for. It's nice that it's there. It's a great option to have for people who like it. I just know that I don't ever really use any sort of scanlines when I'm emulating any of these devices on an LCD screen. And then we've also got the ability to make this a full-size arcade cabinet. And it's actually interesting because if we go down to the actual dimensions here, or the actual layout here in terms of its height, we've got the bar top sitting at 25 inches. Then we have the riser at 32 inches, which is really good. That's going to bring it to about 5 feet. And that's pretty much on par with what we would have seen from Arcade1Up in terms of the devices that they've got. I think this is maybe an inch or so shorter, but it's a fairly decent height. And then when we get down to the pricing structure, we have a few different options. And I gotta say that the price point may be a little bit high on just the bar top. You're looking at $450. We don't know any of the real internal specs. We don't know what it's capable of doing. We don't know if it's connected to the internet. We don't have a lot of information, but I would expect this to have some sort of reasonable software in order to get this thing up and running at this price point, and it's going to have some extra features, something connected to the internet, I think, at $450. But you can also purchase the riser. That's $100 on its own, or I guess the base is what they're calling it. But most people, in my opinion, you'd be better off just to buy the whole thing. You're going to get the bar top, you're also going to get the base, and that's going to be about $500. So that would be the better value. You're essentially paying an extra $50 for the base. $500 might seem a little bit more reasonable than buying these things separately. So if you're even considering buying that base, you should just buy the bundle and save yourself the $50. Now, where to buy it? It's listed on the website that you're going to be able to buy it in the USA, Canada, Mexico, South America, and then all across Europe and the Middle East and Australia as well, but they don't have any specific retailers. But it has been confirmed that at least to start, pre-orders will be coming from Amazon.com, which kind of puts me out because I'm in Canada, and I don't know if this is going to be something that they're going to ship to Canada when they're launching, or if this is just something that'll come to Canada later. But it is something I'm very interested in. I do love the game selection. I'm a pretty big fan of this, so I do hope that I'm able to get my hands on one of these things one way or another, and definitely want to cover this and do some sort of an unboxing and review for you guys, and kind of cover things from that angle as well. And then obviously we've got information about games. They've got them all listed here. You've got everything that you want to see or hear. And it just pretty much goes through every single title, all the information about the collections and things like that. So we've already gone over that. And then we can move over to the FAQ section. And obviously this is very basic stuff. How many games are included? It's got the list of the 50 games. Is the MVSX 2-player? Of course it's 2-player. We know that based off of what we've seen. And is this going to support the original cartridges? No, there's not a cartridge slot. You're not going to be able to load anything like that. But I mean, in general, I think this looks pretty good. I do want to pull up really quickly this picture that I've got going on here. And this is the actual, I don't know if this is the prototype unit, but this picture has been circulating the past few days. And I mean, it looks pretty good. If this is actually pretty close to a final product, I think it looks good. This is what I was talking about over here, and actually I don't think you can see it. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull up the image on its own. There we go, and I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger if I can. See if we can zoom in just a tiny bit. And when we do that, you can see over here, like I said, it's a really pixelated image, but on the bar top, I had mentioned that white button wasn't there, and you can see that there's no white button here. And there is this little black, almost like a knob, and my guess is it's probably some sort of a volume knob. I'm not 100% clear as to what it is. Like I said, my best guess is that it's some sort of a volume knob, and that would make sense. You can control your audio levels. But it did look, I was looking at a high-res image. I can't find it right now. But in that image, it did look almost like it was photoshopped. It looked a little weird. So I'm not 100% sure what's going on with that. I'm curious to see. But honestly, I think in general, the cab looks pretty good. And the box that it's going to come in, you can see obviously the top half of the device, the actual bar top is going to come fully assembled. You don't need to do anything. And this is going to be, it looks like this is the retail packaging for it. But the base is going to come flat packed, and it's actually going to ship in 2 different boxes. And I don't know how that's going to work in terms of logistics, or if there's going to be additional costs for shipping, or it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But I think in general, it looks pretty interesting and pretty good. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's my take on this thing. Is this something that I'm interested in? Absolutely. I absolutely love these 3/4 scale cabinets. I love arcade gaming in general. So this is definitely something I'm going to keep my eyes on. And if there's more information that comes along, I'm certainly going to try to cover it. Now, I've already got in touch with their PR team, and I am working fairly closely with them. So I am personally pretty excited to see what's going to come down the chain from these guys, and kind of keep an eye on what's going on. But that's pretty much all I've got for you guys. So please leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know, is this something that you guys are interested in? Is it something that you guys care about? Is this a hard pass? Is it too expensive at $500 for this cabinet without knowing anything really about its internal specs or what its compatibilities are, capabilities are? Let me know down below. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you didn't like it. Thank you so very much for watching, and I will talk to you guys again real soon.